It's 7 o'clock news bulletin live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The foreign direct investments to the Sultanate at the end of the second quarter 2017 reaches 8 billion Omani riyals. Oman Development Bank introduces 4 new funding fields for the development sectors. The US and Russian presidents agree that no military solution in Syria. Good evening once again, and thank you for joining us. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. The foreign direct investment FDI to the Sultanate at the end of the second quarter 2017 stood at 8 billion Omani riyals, constituting growth by 619.4 million riyals. The oil and gas extraction constituted the bulk of FDI with 3.8 billion riyals, followed by the financial brokerage with 1.5 billion riyals and the industrial sector with 1.02 billion Omani riyals. The United Kingdom came on top of the list of countries having FDI in the Sultanate with around 3.3 billion riyals, followed by United Arab Emirates with 943 million and Qatar with 457.5 million riyals. The road network in the Sultanate has witnessed a tangible growth as the Ministry of Transport and Communications is working to implement and maintain main and service roads under its supervision. The total length of these roads amounted to 31,636 kilometers till December last year, including 14,660 kilometers of asphalted roads and 16,986 kilometers of unpaved roads. The ministry is also working to develop this network through the establishments and requalification of many dual roads with flyovers and giving traffic safety standards priority during the design and implementation of these roads. It also connects rural areas with citizens through the expansion of the improved road network, which will benefit positively the national economy and will facilitate movement between rural and urban areas. Among the most important road projects opened by the ministry are the first phase of Bidbid Sur Dual Road project in the first and second phases of Sina Mhout Dukhum Road. The ministry also opened several parts of Al Batina Express Road. It also implementing the Bidbid Sur Dual Road project in 2 phases. The first one at the length of 116 kilometers and the other at the length of 134 kilometers. The total cost of both phases reached more than 500 million Omani riyals. Some parts of the projects were opened for traffic movement. The ministry also compelled the implementation of Jibreen-Ibri Dual Road at the length of 44 kilometers and a total cost of more than 28.5 million riyals. It also implementing the first and second parts of Adam Thamrit Dual Road at a total length of 240 kilometers. As part of its efforts to monitor the payment of the wages in the private sector, the Minister of Manpower launched a mandatory national wage protection program starting from this month. According to the ministry, the program being initiated in cooperation with the Central Bank of Oman will be compulsory for all private sector companies in the Sultanate. This system is aimed at creating a database with regard to the payment of wages to all employees working in the private sector. The wage protection program mandates that wage payment in the private sector be made only through authorized banks and financial institutions. The new program will ensure that the ministry gets automatic updates of salary transfers from employers to banks. Oman Development Bank (ODB) announced that it has introduced 4 new funding fields for the development sectors, namely logistics, mining and quarries, water, supplies, sanitary, drainage and waste and installations to keep pace with the bank's funding activity and ensure its integrations with the government development plans and strategies. The aim of this move is to achieve the development goals for which this bank was established, especially the objectives of the 9th Five-Year Development Plan 2016-2020. The bank affirmed that its finance for the mining and quarries sector comes in a bid to keep pace with the developments witnessed by the mining sector, which is one of the promising and targeted sectors in the 9th Five-Year Development Plan, as the sector can increase the added value of the local minerals and contribute to diversifying sources of national income. As part of its awareness program on the importance of environment protection and natural resources preservation, Oman Holding Company for Environment Services organized in cooperation with Sohar Municipality an awareness activity on the subject in the Wilaya of Sohar. It focused on ways to get rid of home waste and construction remnants. The event included interactive corners for children, creative reuse of environment, raw materials and fine arts. The public subscriptions for 54,400,000 shares of Muscat City Desalination Company will be offered on the 19th of November at the cost of 116 basis for the share. It will continue till 18th of December. The main activities of the company will be in the development, ownership and operations of Al Ghubra water plant in the governorate of Muscat, which desalinates sea water by using reserves osmosis technology at production capacity of 191,000 cubic meters. The plant, which started the commercial operation in February 2016, is considered as the biggest water desalination plant in the Sultanate. The Minister of Commerce and Industry, represented by the Director General of Standards and Metrology, organized and implemented the proficiency test in the field of testing concrete for the first time in the Sultanate. The samples were prepared and tested at the physics and building materials labs. The samples were packed and distributed into the labs taking part in the program. The results were analyzed and final reports were issued. The ministry said that 14 labs, including 11 public and private labs from the Sultanate and 3 from the United Arab Emirates, took part at the program. The aim of this test is to ensure accuracy and proficiency of the test carried out by the local and foreign labs. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and still to come in our news bulletin. In Taiwan, a cup of coffee can cost up to $23 due to the presence of intricate artwork on the top of the froth. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The Kremlin said that today the United States and Russia issued a presidential joint statement saying there was no military solution to the war in Syria after their leaders met briefly on the sidelines of a regional summit in Vietnam. There had been mixed messages for days from both Moscow and the White House on whether President Donald Trump and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin would hold face-to-face discussions during the APEC summit in Da Nang. The Kremlin said that two presidents had made progress on Syria, which has been battered by 6 years of civil war. The two sides had agreed to keep military channels open to avoid potential clashes over Syria and urged the warring sides to participate in UN-led peace talks in Geneva. Airstrikes by the Saudi-led coalition left at least 8 civilians wounded in Yemen's rebel-held capital Sana'a late yesterday. The strikes hit a residential area near the Ministry of Defense building, which had been targeted just before. Saudi Arabia and its allies shut down Yemen's borders earlier this week after intercepting a ballistic missiles fired by the Houthis near Riyadh airport on Saturday. The rebels have threatened additional attacks on Saudi Arabia and its coalition partner, the United Arab Emirates, in response to the blockade. The United Nations said yesterday that the coalition is still blocking desperately needed United Nations aid deliveries to Yemen, despite the reopening of the Yemeni port of Aden and also a land border crossing this week. United Nations aid chief Mark Lowcock warned the Security Council that unless the blockade was lifted, Yemen would face the target or the largest famine the world has seen for many decades, with millions of victims. The annual Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation APEC meetings wrapped up in Da Nang, Vietnam today, with its members honoring their tradition of promoting free trade and closer regional ties. Draft documents issued by ministries of the 21-member APEC Forum expressed support for free and open trade and investment. Trade ministers from 11 Pacific Rim countries announced their agreement to push ahead with a free trade deal whose destiny had been uncertain after President Donald Trump abandoned it. Draft agreements call for help to ensure the benefits of economic growth are distributed evenly and for member countries to be more business-friendly. They also ask for continued work to improve food security. APEC summits have increasingly become an opportunity for host nations to showcase their growing influence. Next year's APEC summit will be held in Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea. A group of U.S. states, cities, business and universities said today they are still committed to curbing global warming, even as the Trump administration is walking away from the Paris Climate Accord. Speaking at COP23, the global climate meeting in Bonn, former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg said many Americans were committed to the goals of the Paris Agreement and there was nothing Washington could do to stop us. The group, calling itself America's Pledge, said states, cities and private groups have been taking considerable steps to reduce emissions by promoting renewable energy and climate-friendly transportation systems. While diplomats from around the world are meeting in Bonn to discuss implementing the 2015 Paris Climate Accord, scientists in Jülich, some 65 kilometers away, are working with what has been described as the world's largest artificial sun in a drive for green fuel solutions. Scientists hope the technology, which they called sunlight or sunny light, will help shed light on new ways of making climate-friendly fuels. The giant honeycomb-like setup of 149 spotlights uses xenon short arc lamps normally found in cinemas to simulate natural sunlight. By focusing the entire array on a single 20 by 20 centimeter spot, scientists are able to produce the equivalent for 10,000 times the amount of solar radiation. The lamp's focal point temperatures reached up to 3,000 degrees Celsius. Creating such a furnace-like condition is key to testing novel ways of making hydrogen, or hydrogen does not produce carbon emissions when burned, meaning it doesn't add to global warming. But while hydrogen is the most common element in the universe, it is rare on Earth. When my coffee owner Chang Qing Fang serves cups of hot coffee to her customers in downtown Kaohsiung in Taiwan, she takes extra care to prevent the mounting milk froth from overflowing, lest a piece of coffee art depicting a customer or their beloved pet goes to waste. To turn a cup of cappuccino into art, Chang requires a reference photograph. Depending on the customers, she starts drawing a face with coloring made of chocolate, espresso, or colorful fruit jam. When drawing an animal, Chang models a three-dimensional shape out of milk froth and colors in the facial expressions on top. 1 cup of coffee artwork can cost up to $23 depending on the degree of difficulty and take up to 10 minutes to create. Chang said many willingly let the coffee get cold just to take a few pictures and videos while shaking the cups to make the milk froth wobble and are reluctant to start drinking that coffee. And now for the general weather focused around the Sultanate. Clear skies will prevail over the Sultanate with chances of low clouds and fog late at morning or at night and early morning over the governorates of Sharqiya and Al-Wusta and coastal areas of Sea of Oman. Winds will be southerly to southeasterly light to moderate. Seas will be slight with a maximum wave height of 1 meter. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Foreign direct investments to the Sultanate at the end of the second quarter 2017 reached 8 billion Omani riyals. Oman Development Bank introduces 4 new funding fields for the development sectors. And the US and Russian presidents agree that no military solution in Syria. And with that, we do conclude this news bulletin. From the entire news team here in the Sultanate of Oman television, we thank you for joining us. Wish you a pleasant evening and good night.